Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at the currant plant, a clustered blessing. We're going to slow things right down today, taking a really unique journey that blends botany with some deeply profound spiritual reflection. We live in a world absolutely obsessed with the biggest, the loudest, the most spectacular things. But nature? Well, nature often has a completely different way of teaching us about value, growth, and connection. So today we're turning our focus to something incredibly modest, yet literally packed with richness: the currant plant. Okay, let's dive into this. When you really look at the currant plant, it doesn't exactly command your attention the way a towering oak tree or a massive, extravagant bloom might, right? Instead, just notice how it offers us these clusters of small, almost jewel-like fruit. They're like hidden riches gathered quietly along these really slender branches. It's a quiet, profound kind of beauty. It doesn't shout at you to look at it. And that brings us to this absolutely wonderful phrase, abundance without arrogance. I love that. The currant is a plant that provides, but it does it without putting on this huge, grand spectacle. This is a core theme we're going to be exploring today. So often, we are totally conditioned to believe that true provision or true success has to be this massive, overwhelming event. But the currant plant sort of whispers a different truth to us. It shows us, plain as day, that you can be incredibly fruitful while remaining completely humble. This leads us directly into our primary metaphor for this explainer. You see, unlike fruits that grow individually and super prominently, currants grow in strings. They hang together like a really carefully arranged offering. And what you should take away from this is a gorgeous spiritual parallel. God often doesn't build our lives through singular, overwhelming, lightning bolt moments. Honestly, our lives are built through clusters of small, faithful acts. Small mercies, tiny, daily obediences. They accumulate, berry by berry, into something incredibly rich. Now, botanically speaking, the currant belongs to the genus Ribes, and wow, it comes in an amazing array of varieties. We've got the red currants, which are bright, tart, and super vibrant, just bursting with energy. Then there are the black currants. They're deep, rich, loaded with nutrients, and almost mysterious in their flavor profile. We also have white currants, which are pale, translucent, and gentle, and even pink currants, this delicate, softly sweet blend. It just goes to show that divine fruitfulness doesn't just come in one boring, monotonous flavor. God clearly delights in variation, producing all these different strengths and colors, totally intentional, and all rooted in the exact same source. Just look at the sheer weight of the Rovada currant. This specific variety is famous for its exceptionally long, incredibly heavy clusters of bright red fruit. I mean, it produces so abundantly that you can literally see the branches bending and weighing down under the sheer volume of its provision. It's such an energetic, bold expression of life. So, the crucial point here is how we interpret that weight. What might look to the outside world like an exhausting burden, a branch bending under all that heavy pressure, is actually evidence of profound fruitfulness. Just as it's written in John 15, the branch that abides bears much fruit. The Rovada is a perfect reminder that this kind of heavy abundance, it's never accidental. It is the natural, inevitable outcome of staying deeply connected to the source of life. But then, we have something entirely different. This is the white pearl currant. Notice how its fruit is translucent, pale, almost luminous, really. It has a much milder, sweeter flavor. Where the Rovada proclaims its abundance loudly, the white pearl whispers it gently. It's a true symbol of purity, refinement, and hidden sweetness. It really only shines when the light hits it just right. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between the two. On one side, we have the loud, bold, overflowing proclamation of the red Rovada, and right next to it, the gentle, subtle, quiet grace of the white pearl. Seeing them side by side like this, it teaches us something absolutely vital about how fruitfulness actually looks in our real lives. Because not all fruitfulness is loud. We are so quick to celebrate the bold abundance, right? The loud victories, the highly visible successes. But the white pearl reminds us of quiet grace and hidden sweetness. Actually, some of the most powerful inward spiritual work God does in a person's life is entirely subtle. It doesn't announce itself to the room. It's easily overlooked by the world. But make no mistake, it is just as fruitful and just as precious. Let's move to and see how this builds into the practicalities of how these plants actually survive and thrive. Because, let's be real, currants don't just magically appear out of thin air. They require intentional cultivation right there in the soil. Botanically speaking, they love cooler climates, they need well-drained, fertile soil, partial to full sunlight, and, this is a big one, regular pruning. They definitely need care, but not excessive, exhausting care. It's not like you have to hover over them with a watering can every 5 minutes. Just consistent care. And why this matters to you is the spiritual application hidden right here in the dirt. True fruitfulness in our lives is sustained by steady consistency. It's not sustained by intense, exhausting, burnout-inducing bursts of effort. Neglect will diminish the yield, sure, but careful, steady tending, that brings life. Which brings us to perhaps the most counterintuitive truth of the whole garden. To get more fruit, you actually have to cut the plant back. Pruning is preparation, not punishment. If you let the plant overcrowd, you just end up with poor airflow and disease. But by stripping away what is unnecessary, you actually increase the yield. It's wild, but reduction is literally the pathway to divine multiplication. And it's absolutely fascinating how deeply this idea of hidden value is woven into the very name of the plant itself. The word currant traces back through the old French phrase, raisins de Corinth, which translates to raisins of Corinth. It originally referred to these small, dried grapes from the region of Corinth. Over time, the linguistic roots shifted to represent these specific berries. Even in its name, there's this really subtle idea of something small yet incredibly valuable. God purposely assigns immense value to the small things that the world might quickly dismiss as, well, insignificant. Furthermore, the currant's fruitfulness isn't just for itself, or even just for the gardener. Look at its role in the wider ecosystem. It attracts bees, provides vital food for birds, contributes to biodiversity, and enriches the surrounding environment. The currant doesn't just consume its own blessing, it circulates it. True fruitfulness is never entirely self-contained. It always spills over to become a provision for others around you. As we look at a harvest like this, it beautifully grounds everything we've talked about today. The currant teaches us this quiet yet incredibly powerful theology. Life is not about constantly straining to maintain these grand, impressive appearances. It's not about exhausting yourself trying to look like the biggest tree in the forest. It is about resting in faithful connection. It's about knowing that fruit comes in small clusters, that the weight of abundance might bend us, but it won't break us. And that pruning, well, it's just preparation for more. So, I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought. It's a question that really challenges the very way we approach our daily lives and our personal efforts. Ask yourself, am I trying to produce fruit, or am I abiding in the one who produces it through me? Just like the currant, our calling isn't to anxiously strain toward fruitfulness. It's simply to remain connected, to receive what is given, and to trust that quiet, steady process of abiding. Because in that connection, what once seemed small inevitably gathers, clusters, and overflows into something unmistakably rich.